Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. Today we have a new guest on, Tyler Thorne from Kearney, Missouri. Dre and I have grown up with Tyler, and he now works for Vivint. And thank you for coming on today.
Happy to be here.
Today we're going to be going over business endeavors Tyler's had and his success in sales and everything else he's done, and asking him some questions on his tips and tricks and things like that to help you succeed in today's business world.
Love it. No, I'm grateful for a chance to be here, guys.
Trust me,
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
Just a little bit about myself. Obviously, growing up with you guys, known you guys for a long time. It's cool at this phase of our lives to be intersecting in different business ideas. But my story starts at Vivint 6 years ago. Kind of more of an entrepreneur sales experience, I think, is what we've built. It's been wild. I'm sure you guys have experienced a lot of the same thing. Just you hit the fan, you hit the wall, you change directions. A lot of learning. I think sales is one of the best and most valuable skills in society today. Persuasion is key, no matter what you're doing. If you can't persuade or influence, I mean, you can't lead. You can't build a company. You can't elevate. You can't get into management. You just can't do much. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're just an individual, I think sales is an absolutely essential skill set for the market today.
100%.
I feel like everything you're doing is selling. You're selling some type of way.
Oh, totally.
Every big guru out there, Grant Cardone, any of those guys, somebody's always being sold, no matter what it is. And that's such a vital tool in today's world. What on the sales side, when you're talking to new employees, new sales hires, what are those key points that you're looking for in those kind of people? And everybody always speaks of the it factor. What do you see the it factor as when you're talking to someone?
It's funny. So I have an organization that's been self-built. So I hire all my sales employees. I have about 75 that work for me now. And when I first started, I think I believed in the it factor more. The charismatic, the A personality, the dude that's just going to come rip it up. But as I've gone on more and more, I've seen just from like a data standpoint, just more of an analytical perspective, there is like no it factor from a personality that creates a great sales rep. And so I've completely changed my recruiting and my hiring and my onboarding system. And a lot of it's been mirrored after, have you ever heard of like Dean Graziosi?
Yep.
So he talks about it a lot, and I actually got offered a position to their group. And what they wanted to hire me for was YouTube ad spend. I was like, dude, I don't know shit about YouTube. And I'm talking to his CEO, and I'm just like, dude, I don't know anything about YouTube. I don't know why you guys are even talking to me about this. And they said, dude, we don't care what your skill set is, what your talent is. That has nothing to do with what we hire for. We hire completely based off character and ambition and mentality. And so my entire interview process now is built on like, how hungry are you and why? How gritty are you? How do you reframe negativity? How do you deal with adversity? Like, what are your goals? How do goals take place in your life? What's the role they've had? Are you hungrier with commission? Do you not like commission? Because those are the type of things that I'm sure you have a background in sales too. You realize somebody can get satiated really quickly.
Yep. And
or they go hard.
And it's funny, we talked about in the first podcast that Moss Marketing Group, I have not seen a resume to date. And I think in today's world, so many people go to college and have this form put in their head that they have to go work on this resume 24/7. And we see it with people we've went to college with. And look at where they're at now compared to what we've done in the business space. I haven't had to sit in job interviews, but I've sat in that next level position. And once again, they're going after how hungry are you? They're going about what is that factor that's going to drive you to the top? What is that? And that is something that you're going 100%. Like you said, you talk to these people on that character that they have, on that drive, that hunger of what they want to do. And that drives right into sales, because that hungry sales guy, is 10 times better than a sales guy that's not hungry.
Oh yeah, and it's so hard to quantify the skill set because people can sell differently and people connect with different types of audiences in different ways. And everybody has this misconception on sales that it's just this class clown. It's a super charisma, and it's really just critical thinking and problem solving.
How quick are you on your feet?
Yeah, and it's the ability to create concise, simple solutions in the way that the prospect wants to receive them. And it's funny. I mean, you've had the same experience. I know we've had conversations about it. I've had a lot of recruitment interviews where people have asked me to come and meet with their CEO. And every team I've sat down with guys worth tens or 20, 50s, millions of dollars that have offered me a job. They've never asked for my degree. Don't have one.
Yeah.
They've never asked for my resume. They literally don't care. They just want to say, these dogs in business, they recognize people that are like them. They know what it really takes. And I think like the secondary education system is really not preparing people well.
It's flawed.
For the marketplace.
It's very flawed.
Yeah.
People get a very rude awakening very quickly, and they come out and they don't understand finances. They don't understand how money works in the real world.
Oh, no.
They've been in this fictitious place that, hey, I can go see the financial aid office and get X amount more dollars to pay my rent. Guess what? The real world, there's not a financial aid account office down the street that I can go get extra money to pay my rent. I can't pay my mortgage down the road. I can't go make my truck payment down the road. Like, that's not real life. And they walk straight into real life and they get hit right in the face. And they were making more money in college. What financial aid gives out now is ridiculous. And then they get this payment that they weren't expecting afterwards. And it's the whole system, though, is so flawed in the side that you can go do 6 months of sales training, make 5-10 times as much, have a better living, and actually have financial understanding.
Oh, it's crazy. We actually lie to people when we recruit them about what they can make because they don't believe us.
Yeah.
We used to tell them, like, I used to show 1099s and all the tax returns of people in my team because I have guys in 4 months that make 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, selling services door to door. And we tell college kids, like, absolutely no way. You know, their parents like, this is a scam, this is a pyramid scheme, this is whatever, and there's just no way somebody can do that. But I think it's just the modern marketplace has told people, you know, 12, 15, 16 years of school is needed to develop any type of income over $100,000. It's just not true.
Yeah, we talked about that on the last one also, where you get these expectations where you can be making 6 figures in a few months, and everyone's sitting there, and then it's almost too good to be true. So they just push it to the side. They're like, yeah, I can't do that. But I'm like, then you get those few individuals where they go, yeah, I'll try it. Then they become very successful. And then everyone's like, well, what are you doing different? I'm like, well, I did sell. I did do that. Well, and it did pay off.
They're the ones that understand that they're worth that value. And you see it a lot, too, I'm seeing it more and more the more businesses we deal with, things like that, and also watching Madison in the real estate space with people coming here from California, Utah, Florida, all these high-ticket price areas. They come here and they've put a value in their head that they're worth. When they come here, they're still worth that same value in their head, and they make that same money here. And then you have people here that just put this low value to themselves, and they never push past that ceiling because they don't know a ceiling higher than that. But then if you go to Utah, you go to California, and you make what you make here in Kansas City, you're not living. You're living in a box. Like you can't afford a home.
And it's crazy to me. I think most common the objections, and we always get asked, well, like, what's the base pay?
That's the person you don't hire.
No, every single time I ask him, I'm like, dude, nothing. What? Yeah. Well, I would just feel so much better about it if there was a base pay. We're like, dude, then this isn't for you. It's so crazy to me. Well, I want to do something more safe. And I'm like, okay, what's more safe? I always ask, like, dude, what's the alternative? Well, I got this job pays $20 an hour. I'm like, dude, there is nothing safe about $40K a year. You blow a tire, you're screwed. Like, there's nothing safe in how expensive life is today to not go do something where you're in control of your income.
And now with the job market the way that it is, you can go find a job almost anywhere now and start close to $20 an hour. So to me, that's like the bare minimum. Like if you're not willing to take those chances and take risks and go after stuff, then why are you even looking at stuff like that?
And it's very much in us all being younger, being in our 20s, this is the best time to go take those risks. Best time to go after it. And I was out there for 3 years at a job that I worked my life away, and I put a price tag on what my life was worth year over year. I put a price tag on working 6 days a week, bell to bell, doing all this stuff that I had no life. I lost a social life. I didn't have the friends I had from college. I lost all these things. I was jeopardizing all relationships I had. I became a person I didn't know to put a price tag on my life for year over year. So then at 3 years, when I step back and I look over those 3 years, if I ended up in a hospital bed and somebody was like, are you happy with the last 3 years of your life? I said no. You should be able to look week over week and say, hey, if it's all to end today, last week, was that the best week you could have had? Every single week, every day should be looked like that. And you have to just finally at some point say, you know what, I'm going for it. And you have to be the one in the room that just says, that's exactly what this has turned into. Podcast number 1, not very good. Like a lot to be desired, but we're going for it. And
Podcast number 2, best in the book.
Yeah, we're going for it. But it's one of those things that you're always going to get better. You're always going to push that next level and do those things. But we've talked about before the podcast even started, this is the time that we're going to get uncomfortable. We're going to do those things outside our comfort zone. But if you're not pushing that level of comfort, you're not pushing to the top.
Yeah, there's so many things to push the mark. It just is crazy to me. People come all the time, and just the fear of the unknown is always the biggest thing. And people talk like, oh, well, I mean, what if 1 month isn't as good as the next? I'm like, dude, sales is a skill just like playing a sport. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be Division I good at basketball or football one day, and then the next day I just forget how to play at that level. Like, it's a quantifiable skill, just like any athletic endeavor. I'm like, dude, if I can sell at a certain level, there might be games, just like, right, where you score 20 points or 15 or whatever. It's the same thing. Like, I'm performing at a professional level day in and day out, and it doesn't just disappear one day.
I haven't really thought of it that way, and that's a very good analogy in the fact that there are a lot of salespeople that are scared, but I think that comes with self-confidence of what people think that they can do themselves. And Grant Cardone doesn't get up in the morning thinking he isn't going to be the best. Brad Lee doesn't get up in the morning thinking he's not going to be the best. Those guys get up every single morning knowing that they're at that top spot and somebody's coming for it. How are we going to be better? But they're at that professional top level. They're not going to wake up tomorrow and he'd just be like, oh, whoa, I don't know what to do.
And it's so funny. You see these guys, they're lit up with passion. Why? Because, dude, they're progressing. Happiness is progression, dude. Like, stagnant sucks. That's when the average person, right? Like, dude, we all have friends that are in this space, and, oh, that's such a risk. I wish I could do that one day. I'm like, dude, bro, I don't know how you Monday through Friday hate your life so much that you spend Friday through Sunday drinking to forget about Monday through Friday. I'm like, dude.
And do it all over again.
Yeah, I'm like, bro,
over and over.
That's miserable.
Yeah.
I'm jacked to get going Monday. When I get off Saturday night and Sunday, all I'm thinking about is how do I go freaking turn up in 10X the next Monday through Friday?
Yeah. That's Dave Portnoy's El Presidente. He said, he goes, when you can wake up and you don't know the difference between a Wednesday and a Sunday, he goes, that's when you know you've made it. He goes, I don't care what your financial status is. He goes, if you don't know the difference between a Wednesday and a Sunday, you've made it. But that's very true that people get in. It's like they go to jail Monday through Friday. And you just got let out for 2 days. And they have no freedom. And that's, I don't know, I think it comes to bringing it back into the business space where you talk about that stagnant level where people do this stagnant same thing Monday through Friday and expect different results is insanity. And we talk to business owners all the time that they'll call us, they talk to us about marketing XYZ, and then they're like, well, it's kind of expensive. So if they're like, we're pretty good like where we're at, we're just thinking about maintaining. So if you maintain, are you accounting for inflation? Because inflation has done what in the last 2 years? I don't know the exact percentage, but it's a lot. National average is normally like 9%.
I think in the past 6 months. past 6 months.
But if you look at inflation rates, on average, it's normally, I think, roughly around 9%. The last 2 years, you have to take it's probably 10 times higher. But so say you make $100,000 a year and inflation's increasing by 9%. In 10 years, you've dropped 90%. Now you don't have a business. You're maintaining. In 10 years, just made it to where you're gone.
Well, it's the same naive concept that everybody's going through the normal education system. It's like, oh, dude, I get my degree, and then I don't need to learn shit for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
I'm done.
Dude, when has the world stayed the same in any facet? The marketplace is evolving every single day. With technology, it's evolving faster than it's ever. So if you're not continually learning, dissecting, and growing, not only just your business, but yourself, like, dude, you're fading away. You're just becoming irrelevant because everything that you are operating with at the moment is already getting outdated.
Well, yeah, it's like right when we got out of college. Went straight to a finance school out in Utah. After that, went and got my license to write home loans. I'm like, what am I going to do? And I just kept learning. Then finally, land here. I'm like, all right, cool. And then we're still learning on how to do sales. And I think keeping up on sales is the best thing possible because people are changing every day. So as long as you can keep up on that, you're learning every day. And as long as you keep learning, I think you just keep growing.
Yeah. And our space, I will say, has became, I've never seen something that moves so fast in the fact of Facebook and Google and Instagram and TikTok and every other thing that's out there of how fast they're moving. That we'll speak with dealerships that are being sold the same thing from a salesperson from a year ago that's completely irrelevant. And you have people speaking this stuff about salespeople that have never done a day of marketing in their life. They've just got to the sales position, and they're selling the exact same way that they were trained 12 months ago, and you have tracking that's completely different nowadays. You have so much stuff that's evolving so quick, and it's just surpassing them so fast. And it's something that you have to keep up with these things month over month over month, and you have to continuously learn what Facebook's going to do tomorrow. We might come down tomorrow, and I get on a call with Facebook reps 3 times a week to go over everything that's changing. And then I have somebody from a company that has never talked to somebody from Facebook, has never ran an ad on Facebook. It's like, well, I think we should do this, this, and this, and this. Seeing zero success of it.
Yeah, especially in your guys' space, marketing, I think, is, you hear Bradley, I think, he talks about all the time in his show, what's the most important, sales or marketing? He tries to, bait everybody into saying something. He's always, trying to, jab somebody in the gut. But it's for sure marketing. Dude, nothing starts until somebody sees your message and then a sales opportunity approaches. And I think everybody gets the two confused. There's a distinction between the sales process and the marketing process of generating interest and gathering your audience. And then sales is helping somebody solve their problem the way that they want to do it in the language that they expect.
Yeah, there's a lot of styles of marketing too, and I think that gets lost. That your company, for instance, does a lot of branding, very high level branding, for people to know that name, to where when that sales rep walks up to that door-to-door sales, knocks that door, opens up, and they're like, hey, we know who Vivint is.
Yeah.
But it's very much one of those things that they're doing high-level branding. And we have companies that we do high-level branding for, that they want people to know their name. They want to be relevant to everybody. They are on a marketing plan that is 5 years long. We have other companies that start with us. They're very small companies. We want direct return leads 30 days. That's what they want. So there's a lot of different styles of that marketing and sales comes. They don't have a sales department. Yeah. They don't have the sales to go out and help. I need somebody to reach out that just needs our product today. That's what they're looking for. And then we have the one that's hey, we just want brand. We have salespeople. We're going to handle the other side of it. So there's two different sides of it that somebody might have salespeople, but they don't have the marketing. But then there's the people that are just, hey, we want you guys to do all of it.
Yeah, I think it's funny as I talk to a lot of people in other spaces because, we go door to door, so it's raw. We're teaching people to be gritty.
Isn't that the basics where you learn how to sell?
Yeah. But it's so funny. I hear people all the time. They're like, oh, man, the leads are no good. That's my problem. I'm like, dude, that doesn't even make sense to me. Because
You're at a door. You have a person.
Yeah.
You have somebody you're talking to.
yeah, and it just seems so crazy to me because like sales, you have to be able to create those opportunities. There's always people out there. Like in my space with security and smart home, when I walk through a neighborhood, if there's other signs in there, then I'm going to own the place. Like somebody else sold these people, well then frick. Like they're going to be my customer over anybody else's customer. There's no way I lose to these other people in here. There's just so, and I think there's so little training. Legitimately, all these companies have a sales floor. They got salespeople, and it's like, what was your onboarding experience? Well, they gave me a script.
This is what I'm supposed to say on this piece of paper.
So at Vivint, do you do sales training weekly, or
Yeah.
is that yourself, or does Vivint do it?
So we have a combination of the two. There's a lot of macro culture, like Vivint training, obviously compliance stuff, being public, what we can and can't say. There's a ton of best practice stuff and it's always relevant. It's always current because even the product offering we have is always changing. And so what we're positioned to give to a customer is a different pitch. It's a different style. There's different reasons for buying all the time. And then our group, every single day, our entire team is meeting together and we're going over the sales strategies, not just for like the macro market, but specifically in the neighborhood they're working at. You know, if the demographic's different than anything they've worked in previously, is it higher? Is it lower? Is the reason for buying, is it peace of mind or is it convenience? How do you articulate that well and concisely? And how do you remain composed and calm during that so that somebody will listen to you?
Yeah. And I also think with Vivint as a company, me having Vivint, Dre having Vivint.
This guy sold us.
Yeah. He got us. No, but it's the product that you offer is very solid. Like you have a great product. I mean, we run 4K cameras all around our house. We have a hub. I can run my garages. I can do my front door all from my phone. I can control my temperature of my house, everything. And it's just that product when it becomes that smart home, security, everything. I think the product side helps a lot too. Like we've had companies reach out to us for marketing that their product side is way off. That I'm like, if we can't visually see ourselves buying anything that these people have to offer, it's really hard to market for them.
Yeah, I think from a sales standpoint, every time we hire somebody too, we show them, hey, here's the product offering. Here's how it works. Go spend some time researching it. Look up all of the competitors in the space. If you're not convinced that we're the best option, then you shouldn't come sell for us. Because I promise you, the dude that opens the door and gets in your face is going to make you doubt that 10 times a day.
Yeah.
So if you're not convinced that it's the best, then you don't stand a chance.
But also, if you look up any website deal of top 3 security systems in the country, Vivint's in all of them.
Exactly.
So it's
hard not to be convinced.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, before I even called you, I looked up, I'm sitting at, Madison gets a deal from one of her friends that there's been 6 break-ins in neighborhoods 3 miles away. I'm like, you know what? We should probably have a security system. And I look up top security systems. Vivint is in everything I'm reading. And granted, I know somebody that's at Vivint. So, and Dre has Vivint. So it's just a very easy transaction that I feel like when you're getting that's top level branding too that they're doing.
Well, and when they can install the same day, I was like, what?
That's pretty crazy also.
Yeah, the systems and fulfillment is huge, right? Like, I think as a sales rep, it gives a ton of confidence for me to go to a customer and be like, hey, yeah, supply chain sucks. I just canceled my couch I've been waiting for a year on, but we'll get you installed tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah, it's definitely you guys come to the table with strong product, and I think that helps the sales side a ton. That
For sure, the confidence for you to go to a customer and say, hey, we're going to deliver fast, we're going to deliver on time, we're going to deliver the right stuff is key.
Yeah. From your years with Vivint, what would you say your most valuable lessons that you've learned from Vivint? As that is, a lot of the people we're going to have on the podcast are going to be a lot smaller business owners from the local area. I feel like you are somebody that's from a much larger pool of the corporate world kind of feel. And what are some of the valuable lessons that you can bring to smaller business owners of Kansas City?
Yeah. First one that comes to mind, there's a couple, is definitely like self-identity is crucial. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. We get so focused on the outcomes that sometimes we lose hope, we lose confidence, we lose like, oh man, am I good enough? And there's just not everybody's going to be your customer. And that's a really hard thing to deal with as you enter sales, as you start a new company. Like, people rejecting you isn't bad. You're just dialing in. So it's find your base and your value in yourself. That's first. The other thing, James Clear, I don't know if he writes a bunch of books, but he has a book called Atomic Habits. And he teaches a ton on the principles of leading indicators versus lagging indicators. And in sales, I think in anything in business, it's super crucial to understand your metrics. You have to quantify and systemify, hey, top of the funnel is this type of person. I need X amount to enter before I can get to phase 2. Once this many people come in, this many type of this level of conversation is going to get to this point. I think so much in sales and in business, it's just like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks with no hope of measuring it or quantifying it. But when I sit down with a rep and they say, hey, I want to sell 200 deals, I want to make 150 grand, like we can give them an exact roadmap. This is how many conversations you need to have each day. This is how many people you need to take to this phase. This is how you need to get in front of this many people. And I think we just overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Like we put too much anxiety and emotion into it. Like people feel if you have something to get from them, if they're your last option,
you can definitely
they feel it.
When,
I need this sale.
Yeah.
When salespeople get desperate, it is like the easiest read on the planet. And you've seen in the car business, when the guy comes to you that's like, hey man, I can't make my house payment, I can't do X, Y, Z, and he's out and he can't make it. You can take a guy that sells 20 cars a month, and when they fall hard. And desperation, people read it like a book all day long. It is a terrible look.
It applies so much pressure.
So much.
Because you immediately, as the prospect, are like, dude, I don't know if this is good for me. This dude's going to like lose his house if this doesn't happen, but I might get screwed.
Yeah, he's trying to really bend me over to try to get this sale.
Yeah.
For the low price of X, it could be yours in 3 hours.
And if you don't get back to me in the next 10 seconds, I have to walk away.
Then you start discounting your product too. I've seen, in sales roles that I've had, I've seen people like on the last day of the month that are trying to meet their quota that are like going to our manager, oh, I need three, they said $300 more off this sauna and I'll go for it, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that just discounts the brand and that just looks bad for the whole organization.
Oh, every single time I sit down with a rep who's struggling, the first thing I ask is, let me see your numbers. Well, I don't know. And if their answer is, well, I think I've talked to this many people, it's been about this many calls, it's been about that many doors. I'm like, dude, you either marked the exact number of conversations you had about this, or you're freaking lying to yourself about how hard you actually worked.
Yeah. And we've been in meetings that I agree with, hey, if we sell at 10%, we need to talk to we want to sell 100 of whatever we're selling. We need to talk to 1,000 people and everything along those lines. But I've been in rooms where people have had full company meetings and they're like, well, we're closing at 7 or 8%. I'm like, well, like nobody else thinks that's a big deal. And they're talking about how they need to talk to 10,000 people. And I'm like, what if we just increase the sales percentage? They're talking about how to figure out how to double their numbers over a 12-month span. And I'm like, you could easily just double your closing percentage, and that's it. You should be able to quadruple your closing. It was just something that was so like mind-boggling to me that I look at businesses that I'm like, if you close at 8%, you're not in business. If you close at 8%, you're not business. You close at 8%, not business. And it's a lot of people just accept those numbers and they don't look at the sales side as what actually is the driving force of their company.
Well, and I think you said something really interesting there. 8%, like, dude, there's a lot of people that genuinely believe, like, oh, dude, if my product is just kick ass, everyone's just gonna knock down my door to come get it from me.
No.
It's like, dude, no, like this, you still have to have amazing sales presentations. You have to be able to articulate how that fits them really well. Like, dude, as good as Vivint is, like, nobody's coming to my house asking me to fill out 100 orders a week. Like,
Dre, myself, our dad's getting it.
yeah, referrals
We got 3.
referrals are for sure the
We
biggest
all just
component.
knocked on your door. We're like, Tyler, come on, hop in the car.
But it's just, I think people so underestimate what it takes to create a transaction.
Yeah.
People are just handing over their credit cards because they just like look at it and they clearly understand what you know about your product or service or the value that it brings without hearing from you.
They want to know how it directly correlates to them. They can see that you gave Drake great customer service. He loves his system, everything like that. 0 issues there. But it wasn't like at that point I didn't need it. Until the day that came that I needed it, then it was like I needed it. And it's so crazy in sales that Dre's telling me about, dude, I love this thing. I got this home monitor. It's going over everything that it does. But at that point, it didn't directly correlate to me. Until there were 6 break-ins down the street from my house, then it directly correlated to me. And that's crazy how it is in sales with us dealing with business owners. They don't need marketing until they have a bad 2 or 3 months. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, now those are the people directly reaching out. The person that's on top of the world, a lot of times they're like, hey, man, we're cruising. But it's the same thing. Like, you have to do that top funnel marketing all the time to where the second that person thinks that we're doing that stuff all the time as ourselves, to where the second that person's like, hey, you know what, we've had a bad 3 months, we need marketing, we're calling Moss Marketing Group. But that's where we get a lot of that direct referral or direct reach out, and then we also get direct referral, and then we have the sales side of it also.
Goes right back to the leading and lagging indicators that you were talking about. Those companies that are just focusing on trying to get more leads and need to get in front of 10,000 people, that's the lagging indicator because they know if they get in front of 10,000 people, they're going to close X number of deals. When you focus on the leading indicators, you focus on the stuff like sales training, like your systems, how often you're following up with people, how your reps are looking in front of people, and you get better results from that.
100%.
And I think, too, you mentioned referrals. Like, anybody that's not optimizing referrals or taking care of their customers and delivering at a high level is an idiot. Like, no matter how great your product, your service, your marketing, your acquisition, new customers, referrals are king. Like,
100%.
Anybody that I ever
isn't
get.
it a free sale?
Oh, yeah. It's a guaranteed. Everybody's biggest fear is getting boned.
And you're actually legit. Somebody just put their word up for you that you're doing what you said that you're going to do. And that's the biggest thing is most people's word isn't worth a lot in today's world. It used to be people's word was a huge deal. That's how I think people coming from the Midwest, like that's still a thing here.
Oh, totally.
Like we make deals all the time on handshakes. We don't run contracts. We don't do a lot of things different. Marketing companies outside our space think we're nuts. They think we have like lost it because we're doing stuff on handshakes. But it's I feel our word is good of what we do. And that's what we want to hold our word to those clients. So if Dre tells you that we do an amazing job, now all of a sudden Dre's putting his word up to ours. So then it just continues to relay around.
Well, that's what Monday I was out, and after the deal got closed, I shook the guy's hand. I'm like, all right, thank you. He's like, do I need to sign something? I'm like, no. I'm like, we operate on a handshake. I'm like, that's the way we feel business should be ran. And the guy's like, I respect that. I'm like, that's the way I was raised. He's like, people aren't raised like that anymore. I was like, I don't disagree.
Granted, it burns us sometimes. Once in a blue moon, we are burned. But my deal is if that person is willing not to pay someone, they're the one that has to sleep with that night, not me.
And it always comes around. Abundance mindset over scarcity mindset is so crucial in business. Like, we're not running out of people to talk to or people to deliver value to. You're just eliminating the people you don't want to work with and the people you don't want to service. Yeah. But I think just touching on what you said, even people don't come to you till it's kind of a drought. I think that's such an aspect of sales. Like, I think sometimes people think, oh, like I can't sell a security system to this person until it's a scary neighborhood or whatever. Like, dude, none of that crap matters if you can provide that value and help somebody understand where it comes. Like, even me coming to you guys, I'm not losing business.
Being proactive.
Yeah, we're growing a ton right now, but that's not good enough. I want to know how can we go faster, further, longer. Like I always am super aware, like, hey, if my current source of the way that I operate my business gets taken away, what else do I have? Are we flexible? Can we pivot? If I don't know anything about this space or I don't have the right people in connections, like, right, when COVID came, it very easily could have ended my entire operation. Luckily, it didn't. But for a lot of people in their business, they die just because they didn't develop networks and relationships to pivot their business if the time came when they needed to.
That's crucial in every aspect of every business, like even auto sales.
I think the pivoting point is that's what separates those top level people from the second tier people, is when you are faced with that objection, that change in market, you understand how to pivot to make it work. And we've been faced with it multiple times since we've started. I mean, when we started, we were only going to do dealerships. That was like our thing. Like we knew it. We went outside the dealership space to start taking on other clients also. And we pivoted really quick on understanding that there's a lot more that we could do. And we figured out really quick that there's a huge demand in website builds. We get website builds weekly now. We get all these other things that we're pivoting into areas of opportunity that we never even thought about before. But we're seeing that there's such a huge demand across the board that's how we have grown so quickly. And we've been open for 18 months, and there's 7 of us already. And most people are like, you have set, like, is there 7 of you guys like full time? Or you guys like, I'm like, no, there's 7 of us full time. Like,
Isn't it amazing the sheer amount of doubt?
Every single person.
People want you to lose.
Everyone wants you to lose.
In sales and entrepreneurship, everybody is like hoping you fail so they don't have to admit to themselves that it can be done.
That was a terrible idea. He shouldn't have done that anyways.
But you're not actually winning, are you?
Yeah.
Wait, you're not actually making money.
Yeah.
Wait, you're not actually growing. It's not actually consistent and stable yet, is it? Oh man, like I'm not actually stuck at this dead end job that I hate.
Yeah.
But it's safe, quote unquote.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Everybody wants you to fail until you made it, and then they want to work for you.
Because no one wants to actually look themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
Look at their problems.
Can I get a stable job at your place now? I know you risked it all to get there, but do you have a stable job open for me?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy how fast we have people reaching out to us like, hey, like, you guys like hiring more people right now? I'm like, the only people that know we're hiring are the people that are coming on. Like, it is a organic find every single time. Ricky, Lauren, it was something that it was just, when I knew, I knew. The heartburn kicking in again.
Should have taken that Prozac earlier.
No, but like when we met them, it was, I told all the guys when we met them the first time, I was like, those people had a lot of that it factor. They had that character. They had everything that fits the mold of what we are. And the more we were around them, it was just more that we saw that. And it was the second that time was ready, that wasn't a decision that was like, had to be thought about. And that's every single time that we're already talking to somebody else right now. That decision didn't have to be thought about. It's as those people can come on and we can handle the work, that's the pace we're going to run. And whatever that is we can find the people that fit to sit right here 5 days a week, however long they're going to sit here. I mean, that's how the growth happens.
It's honestly amazing what you guys have built so far. It's been pretty sweet. I think it's always fun seeing people succeed and dominate, especially when we're working hard on something. You respect, like, so I know what it takes, right? For you guys to put the liabilities you take on and the different things you do and the time, and it's funny how your circle gets smaller.
Definitely gets smaller very quickly.
And your detector for bullshit just goes through the roof of people. Oh, I got this idea. I got this. Dude, there's just, we had Ed Milet came in and spoke to us the other day and at Vivint. And it was
jealous.
It was lights out, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was one of the best things I've ever heard.
We're gonna have to push something to get him on the podcast one of these days.
I have a connection. But he talked a ton about just potential shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you get paid for what you execute, not what you did yesterday, last week, or what you say you're going to do in the future. You get paid for what you freaking do today.
100%.
And like, you just start to respect people for like just doers, like people who just do what they say they're going to do over everything else.
Yeah.
Just before this, when we were talking about beginning of February, talking about doing the podcast, it's one of those things that 30 days or 45 days ago, I say, hey, we're gonna have a podcast. End of February comes around, I don't have anything set up for a podcast, so I'm working here all day to get a podcast set up. But it's one of those things, if you're going to tell people you're going to do something, do it. And I think it's a lot of those motivational guys talk about getting up and, hey, like, get up and meditate for an hour, get up and go do this for an hour, go do this. Like, get up and work every single day and just make it happen. Nobody really cares about what you have to say. They care about what your results show. And I let our company speak for itself of what the results show. I can sit here and speak to you till I'm blue in the face of whatever I have to tell you. But what we've done is a completely different story, and just let that speak for itself. But that circle definitely gets smaller with
Oh yeah, it's
doers.
funny. I every time I'm in an interview and a rep's like, "Oh man, I'm gonna be your best rep. I'm gonna be the top rookie." I'm like, oh, "We'll see, we'll see."
I've had a lot of meetings that this happen just this way.
Yeah, and yeah, it's even your sales prospect. Oh, I'll call you back. No, like,
I'm gonna hold
hey,
my breath.
Yeah, no, dude, we can get a solution here, or we won't. Like, helping people make a decision. So many people just won't commit to anything.
They won't. On this, looping back to marketing and everything like that, in today's space, marketing-wise, if somebody is to go after a marketing tip, trick, something like that they can use to increase their business today, what do you think that they could do to help increase their bottom line to their household monthly income today? That's a pretty loaded question, too. That was a lot.
Real estate.
Hire M3.
It's MMG. M3 is the podcast.
Oh, MMG. Yeah, my bad. It's interesting. I think so many people are just so afraid to do the work.
Yeah.
Like, we go door to door. I think so many people, every time I tell us people, like, there's absolutely no way you make the money that you do knocking on doors. And to me, I'm just like, dude, direct marketing is not dead. There's so many ways to acquire a customer if you know who your customer is and you have a good value proposition. I would say for any small business, you'd be so amazed. And we see this all the time, right? Like, cold calling, it's not dead. Direct, like door knocking, it's not dead. Like, if you're willing to pay with your time and your effort to learn who your customer base is, then you can scale up really well and automate that with services like what you guys do. But I think you have to pay that price first. And a lot of people just want to go straight to solve my problem for me. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
That's just not how it works.
I think a lot of understanding market and understanding who that client is a big problem we run into all the time. That we know who our premium client is. We understand that we directly go after business owners. Business owners are who we need to sit in front of that can make a decision on doing marketing. You could be XYZ selling at a dealership around here, and you call us and think that we're the best thing since sliced bread. That's really irrelevant to us if you can't make the decision for us to come on. If you go knock a door of a house and you get the person that owns the house, they're a decision maker. If you have a 15-year-old kid open the front door, you're probably not selling him on getting home security.
I don't think you can sell the 15-year-old.
Okay, say you have an 18-year-old kid that lives at home with mom, you're not selling him.
Hey, it could be done.
Hey, bro, somebody doesn't need to break in your basement, take your Xbox. We need this.
Well, no, I sell your parents. I completely agree with you because I have reps, right? And these are 200 account in 4 month reps. So these are 6-figure earners. And we have guys that only like to sell, suburban neighborhoods, 30 to 40, certain type of demographics. Some people love in a crime-ridden area. Some people love super wealthy areas. And you even have to understand who your specific best audience is for you. And And that's like on a really micro scale. For you guys, it's like business owners who need to scale. I have reps who identify their target market. But I think to kind of in the whole conversation, you can't find it out without having a ton of conversations, without just going at it. You can't steer a parked car. You don't know where to pivot if you're not even moving.
We found some of our best clients that we have to date are people that previously have marketing companies, because they have figured out exactly where they don't want leads at. They have figured out the areas they don't want. And we've had people come to us that they're like, I'm paying XYZ marketing company out of Florida, and they are flooding me with leads from this area that I don't want leads from this area because these people can't pay, different things like that. And they've done that research almost and finding out who that perfect customer is in a roundabout way without us having to do it. So when they're giving us all this information, I'm sitting there listening to them. I'm like, you're telling me exactly who I need to go after. And then it makes it really easy on our side. And those are the best accounts we've had to date of people that have previous marketing companies that just haven't performed well for them. And when they call us, it's because most of the time those are out-of-state marketing companies. They don't know the areas. They don't know our demographic areas of Kansas City, of how Kansas City performs in the automotive space and every other company we've taken on. Automotive space is really, really, really bad. And that's why we stepped into this. Was I'd say 99% of marketing companies that handle Kansas City are not here. They're in Denver and they're in Florida.
It's hard to know the difference between Independence and Olathe looking at a map. When you're in Florida or another state, and that's what we bring to the table is even if we take on accounts outside of Kansas City and outside of our area, which we have, we do the research to figure out like what's that demographic look like in those towns, what's the population, what's the median household income, what's all that stuff look like. But I guess beneficial to us, other marketing companies don't do that. It doesn't make sense.
It's that doing that extra step to be better, to be the best, standing at the top. I wouldn't think about taking on a company and not doing that research. I would be very disappointed any person standing at MMG if we took on a company and we didn't do that research to do that to a client to take their money. And marketing companies do it everywhere. And it's sad. And they sign them into these 6 to 12-month contracts, and they don't understand their client. They don't understand who they're going after, who that perfect demographic is. And it's realistically, I feel like it's stealing.
I think you just made this is a distinction that I feel like I've really started to understand clearer and clearer the longer I've been in business. The difference between building a business and making money. And they're totally two different things, right? Like you can go acquire a lot of customers and you can make money to an extent and screw a lot of people over.
100%.
But building a business and building a career and becoming ultimately wealthy, you have to serve a lot of people, whether that's your employees or your customers. Like you have to deliver on what you say you're going to do, and that integrity and that ethics and the fulfillment of what you've established, it compounds. And in the short term, I think sometimes we get stuck. It's like, oh, well, those guys are getting customers and they're just lying to people. We're losing business to them. It always comes back around. And everybody just gets so short-sighted on what's happening today and isn't thinking about, hey, but we're laying these seeds of those dudes might not be in business tomorrow because they're going to get sued 10 times. We're going to be around and we're going to pick up those customers, and all of our testimonials or whatever, our employees are going to vouch for us as we hire somebody. Like what we say is going to be delivered is going to be delivered.
Yeah, those aren't your today customers. Those are your customers in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's our whole business model, and I feel like your business model is very similar in the fact that you're not looking for 1 month customers. You're not looking for a 3-month customer. You want those people, you want their retention the lifetime of them. And I hate using the word customer. Like, I always like kind of get iffy, like even when I say the word, like the people we work with have became friends. Like you're a friend of ours. Like I can go down the whole board of clients that we have, and every one of them we're friends with now that I text on a weekly basis. I talk to all these people all the time. They call us for business advice. They call us for all these different things. I want that person to be a friend, and I feel like it's exact same way with you on, I didn't text the install guy about anything. That wasn't the person I'm talking to. I'm talking to you about all of it. And I think that's just where that customer, once again, customer friend, whatever you want to call it, relationship comes, and that's what builds that long-term clientele.
And that's one of the things, like, kind of going all the way back. What do you guys look for when you hire a sales rep? That simple distinction that so many people just can't get, because W-2, the clock in, clock out mentality, is what's the bare minimum that's going to get me a check? And it's one of those things like, hey, are you willing to follow up? You don't have to, but will you follow up with every customer you install? Will you make sure that we have an award-winning customer service retention? I individually handle every call for every account I've installed. I have installed a lot of accounts.
It looked like she was about to say thousands.
I think it's probably definitely thousands.
Yeah, I mean, my team will do 2,000 in 4 months, and we individually handle these accounts, and it's just those little things make such a big difference. And when you're obsessed with that deliverable of your service, that it goes beyond of what you were paid to do.
It becomes a pride thing.
Oh, totally.
It becomes something that...
But it pays dividends.
It does. It pays dividends, but you're not focused on the cost and the money side of it. The money side comes, and we talked about this on the first podcast, the money comes behind it. If you take care of anybody that you work with,
it's always a byproduct.
The money is a byproduct, and it falls behind it. Mm-hmm. And if we do phenomenal marketing, guess what? If I come in and we're like, hey, it's $3,000 a month, and you start off with us, blah, 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 and we do a phenomenal job, guess what? You're going to up it. You're going to up it. So the no contract thing comes in twos. The no contract thing is, guess what? If you don't have to work with us, you don't have to. But also, when you're doing really, really well and you want to up it, you can. So that's what happens with 95% plus of our accounts, is they're upping their accounts, spending more with us because it's working. And that's what we work on it week over week over week. And we have clients all the time I wouldn't say all the time. We have a couple clients that when we have started with them, it hasn't taken off like it's supposed to. It's stepping into a new space, and we're learning. We're figuring it out. And I've called these people. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not figuring this out. Here's X, Y, Z. We're working on it. What did you make off these accounts? Are you still making enough money to cover what we're cost? But we're learning all the time too. So we are wanting to drive that space. And any marketing company that says they're not learning all the time, they're lying. But that's 100% on that customer retention. Once we do that for those people, it's like, hey, you know what? Now you have it to where you've changed our lives. Now we'll spend anything with you guys.
It's so funny. I have reps all the time when they're new. Something in the install goes bad, and the customer's blowing them up. They're like, dude, I'm just not going to answer and pray this freaking shit works out. And I'm like, dude, that's absolutely the worst thing you could do. And it's the same thing. Honestly, people today, whether it's good, bad, or like an absolute shitstorm, they just want to know that somebody's going to hear them out.
100%.
When you answer the phone, I had a customer. Dude, this is like a $2 million house in Cali. They have like $100,000 of wine in this cellar. They have a Nest thermostat. It's not even made by us, but it's a product. It just so happens that this weekend they leave, the Nest thermostat, the whole infrastructure of Nest goes down. Literally lose that. The wine has to be cooled at a certain temp. It's controlled by this Nest. Everything goes bad. The house goes to like 110 degrees. They call me just pissed, dude. They lost $100,000 in wine.
I was going to say I want to come out to these people's house, but now I retracted my statement because I don't want to go there now. Their wine's all bad.
Well, what's awesome about this, the reason I'm telling the story is just they called me. I'm not even kidding you, man, dude. Every 20 minutes it felt like 2 weeks, and just kept answering, hearing her out, listening to her. And at the end of every single conversation, it was literally just, hey, I'm just honestly amazed that you still answer the phone. And we ended up doing everything, getting them the money back on the one. Like, everything was taken care of by Vivint and by Nest, that it was like a lights out situation for them. I got like 5 referrals from those people after this happened.
Those are pretty solid referrals.
Extremely. But it's just so crazy. People just think like, oh, escalated situation, don't deal with it. People just want to be heard. They want to know that you got your back. And as long as you keep putting up for people, like keep trying and actually, delivering and making a difference,
Yeah.
They're willing to tolerate a lot.
I will say that the car business helped us out a ton on learning that you'd be amazed at how many car dealer managers are 100% in the fact of like, hey, just don't answer these people, blow it off, just stay away from it. And then you end up with a 1-star Google review, you end up with a 1-star Facebook review with like paragraphs of everything about how they're the worst dealer on the planet. And then if you take those people's call and it's like, hey, I needed a battery. My battery went bad 3 weeks after buying the vehicle from you, and it's like 0 degrees outside. We couldn't tell if the battery would go bad when it got that cold. But it's like it's a $80, $90 battery through our cost. You're going to lose a customer friend at that point over $80. No. It was, if you picked up that phone call, no problem, come in. I'll send a tech that we have out to put a new battery in your vehicle. So you just saved, and then you get the 4 or 5 referrals off of it. The money just came back behind that once again because you did the right thing. And it's very much in business. I think people kind of lose sight of that, and they're jumping over dollars for pennies.
And this is why our jobs are so freaking hard. Because there's so many people that screw people, that won't answer the phone, that won't take the call, that won't deliver, that people are conditioned to believe that everybody, like every single person in business,
But
as
don't
soon
worry,
as something goes wrong, disappears.
those
They
people
think
are a little
everyone's a
cheaper though
crooked.
too though. That's
Yeah, they're always cheaper
they're
too.
always
Yeah.
cheaper, and that's what you hear it in everything. That I set people up right out the gate before we even speak a word with people. I tell them like, we're not the cheapest. We don't want to be the cheapest, but you call me on a Saturday night, I might be out with friends. We might all be out together at D-Shots doing whatever, having a good time. But if you call me, I'm going to answer. I might not be able to handle whatever it is at that point, but I'm going to answer. I'm going to hear whatever the issue is. We're going to write it down. And the first time I can get to a computer, I'm going to handle whatever that is. And we've had so many dealers and so many companies we work with that are like, your guys' communication has just been beyond anyone else we've worked with.
Cheap things aren't good, and good things aren't cheap. Simple as it is.
That's every time I come out, and the first time, it's always old people too. First question they ask, it's like, well, ADT quoted me 56. What can you do? And I'm like, well, I guess it just depends. What do you want it for? and I always just, what do you want it for? Like, you want camera? What do you want your cameras to do? Well, if you want them to be online when something actually happens, you just want it up to say you have it up. I mean, I can get you a sign in your yard for $40. Like, and I always tell people, I'm like, hey, look,
fee.
like, if you're just gonna put basic stuff up, then, dude, I got some really cheap options for you. I've actually gone out and helped people like set up a really cheap system. Like, dude, like, it just depends on what you're looking for. If you actually want it to prevent and do certain things, it's like I wouldn't go to a junkyard and be like, dude, I want it to do what an RS6 does.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just you
mean that
get what
can't
you pay
happen?
for.
Yeah, it's getting what you pay for that's one of those things that's kind of lost in our world today.
And the honesty of, unfortunately, some people won't. They'll tell you that, hey, my cheap option, my no contract, it does everything that the nicer option does. I promise, I guarantee you. The second you sign up, dude, I'm gone.
Yeah, I think it's funny how many people advertise no contracts actually have contracts.
Oh yeah,
That kind of blows my mind.
We have no contracts until the third day.
No, but it's funny how many people are like, well, so-and-so doesn't have contracts either. I'm like, all right, call them, see what they have set up. Well, they have 30 days, and then it's a contract. But it's like, everything's like, oh, you have this much, and then there's a contract. Or our price is like sky high without a contract. So it's like whatever their price is, it's double if you're not going to be running their contract. So there's all these like loopholes of it that I'm like, anybody that signs up with us, it's the same. I just didn't want to overcomplicate it, which I don't know. I thought in my head was simpler. I might be wrong, but it's worked out so far. But yeah, Tyler, how can more people get information about Vivint and things like that from you and to increase your business and everything in the Kansas City? You do Northland and South, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you do all around Kansas City, and
yeah,
you're also managing Chicago, correct?
yeah.
So anybody that's watching from Chicago, you can also hit up Tyler.
If you have any family anywhere, we can set them up. We can set them up.
Tyler can hit anywhere nationwide. Hawaii too.
Yeah.
Alaska.
Yep.
All 50 states. He's got it covered.
Yeah, we got install technicians everywhere. I think if anybody has any questions, obviously best way, I think you guys put a cool page together for us. There's an NIS department for the corporate side of Vivint. Don't do that. Come to me.
Don't do that. You hit up
If you
Tyler.
want to talk to Tyler, go to his page.
Yeah, you go to us.
Tyler. Vivint of Greater Kansas City.
There we go.
Greater KC.
Greater KC. Yeah.
So anything you need, hit up Tyler. I don't think he's going to throw his phone number out here, but
You can probably get it on the page.
you can get it on the
If
page.
you make it that far, you'll find it.
But
We'll put, if you're watching on YouTube, we'll put the link below.
Oh, perfect.
link below for Tyler Vivint, Greater Kansas City. But that's the M3 podcast. Enjoy it. I hope it is better than the first one. Episode 2, I think, has made leaps and bounds. Stay tuned for what is going to be in the future. Thank you for being here. Key Ricky.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.